where we're at. They know that when all the currencies burn this time, the system won't be recoverable to paper debt anymore. No one's going to put any value into it whatsoever. Just because they come out with a new shiny green, blue, and red $10 bill, are you going to accept it as a $10 bill when you've had to have a wheelbarrow load of them to go and buy a thing of milk? No, it's not going to work that way. So we've been prepped with cryptocurrencies. Whether Satoshi Nakamoto was a group of, I think it was actually an individual single mind that wrote the white paper, okay, and described it all, because I've read the language and I don't find anything inconsistent with that idea. But it may indeed have been a group of people that came up with the concept and so on and introduced it. But nonetheless, Universe decided we would have this mechanism at the time we need it. And we need it really soon. As the currencies become worthless, the paper that's being issued by the sovereigns, the nations that we no longer need anymore, we're going to need something to have that medium of exchange. And we need it now to be fast because there's so many of us and we all talk so fast. And, we're all sucking down coffee and doing stuff on the internet. Everything's so hyper. And so in order to do this, even paper doesn't function anymore. That's why, the SWIFT system has gone from a 5-day transfer down to a 1-day transfer, trying to compete with Bitcoin. But still, even Bitcoin being slow, I can transfer $1 or $100 million in less than an hour for about 6 cents of cost. That's the kind of thing we need. Now, all you have to do is to back that with some kind of a gold deliverable system. And boy, you're golden.
Yes.
Pun intended, because you'll be able to have 100% confidence, no counterparty risk, right? And it's the counterparty risk that's killing our system, the debt. We don't live in an asset-based system, we live in a debt-based system. And now, by the way, the debt for the federal government has just officially collapsed with a federal judge. This, we didn't know it would be a federal judge, we didn't know it would be this way, but here's what has occurred. And it'll replicate out as I forecast, and we'll have this huge crises that will occur in September, October, and November within the government of the United States as a result of what has just occurred this past week and the weeks before that. And what has occurred was a judge looked at this terrible commercial venture and said, this thing is screwy as hell. We can't allow this to go on. And so he put a stop to it. He issued a federal stoppage order on this system. And what the system is the system is the student loan default collection system. Now get this, if you examine the federal government, where it says this instrument is backed by the full faith and credit of the federal government, and you go and say, okay, well, what is that? I got no faith in you people, so what's your credit worth, right? Okay, so what's your credit worth? Well, so I look at the federal government. The federal government is basically backed by the Federal Reserve and the Treasury and the Plunge Protection Team and the Exchange Stabilization Fund, I know. But nonetheless, basically these two official entities back the federal government and are their official credit. The vast majority of their assets that they put on their books are student debt, not assets. But they're saying all the students that have ever taken out loans that don't have them paid off are our slaves, and we get to suck out of them.
You can never write it off.
Correct. And so this is our asset. Well, hey, that asset went poof because it doesn't matter if you write it off or not. There's a federal judge that says the organization can't hassle you for this anymore. They can't try and even collect. It's shut down. Now, it might take them 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months to get this back together. But basically, it was dying on its own anyway because of a 40% delinquency rate and rising in the social chaos of the elections, et cetera, right? As well as the depression. Nobody's hiring these students to be, yet another art major in your particular company. And you may not, you may be making nails. Who knows? You don't need that many art majors making nails. And so we're at that situation where the federal government's reserve asset has now disappeared. And they're not telling anybody about it, but all of our bonds are backed by that. So we're at the same situation as we have different particulars. But the 1933 through 34 crises in the bonds that actually really caused the horrific part of the Depression began as a result of basically the same kind of thing we've got going on now. And that is a realization that your assets are someone else's debt. And these kids are out there running around breaking windows and stuff. They're not going to be paying off this student loan. And so we've got real problems.
That's That's
This is
really
going to hit us in September. So our issues in terms of the depression are going to be flat out in our face from that point on.
And are you saying September because that's when school starts again, or just because it's where your data sets are saying?
That's because of what my data sets have said. Because as I
Okay.
move model space forward, we get a projection that this is when there's going to be an emotional peak that will cause this to erupt into our consciousness, meaning basically it'll be out in our face and we'll have to deal with it.